Fargo, North Dakota is one of the fastest growing cities here in the whole entire Midwest. Tons of people are relocating here, whether it be from big cities or from small town living in North Dakota. And as a Fargo Realtor, I get asked a lot of questions and a lot of people come through me to move here to Fargo. So in this video, I'm just going to break down some 10 common questions I get asked as a Fargo Realtor for people moving to this FM area. Now there's no kind of process with this video or a certain list that I follow. So if you want to skip around to some of the questions, you can see them all at the bottom of this video in the chapters. There's gonna be 10 of them. I'm just gonna be answering them quick, but if you want further answers or deeper detail on anything you heard in this video or on moving to this Fargo-Moorhead area, you can reach out to me through all my contact information in the description of this video below. So we'll jump right into it with question number 1. Are winters really that bad in Fargo, North Dakota? Now, obviously, this is something that a lot of people talk about and is one of the big things with winter here in North Dakota and in the Midwest as a whole. And my answer for this is it's all relative. Of course, me being someone that grew up in the Midwest and grew up in a small town in North Dakota, I'm used to the winters. So maybe they're not that bad for me. But if I'm someone that's moving from, Hawaii up to North Dakota, these winters are gonna be absolutely horrible. Or if I'm someone moving from Alaska to Fargo, the winters, they're not that bad here compared to Alaska. So it's really all relative, but it does get super cold here. It routinely gets into -10, -20 degrees. It's around 0 degrees today right now in Fargo. And it gets snowy. We just had a blizzard. So it's windy, snowy, and cold all the time during these winter months. Kind of from middle of November, beginning of December, all the way till like beginning of March, end of February, that sort of thing. That's kind of the timeline for winter. It varies sometimes. Sometimes it starts earlier, sometimes it goes later, depending on the year. But obviously winters are a big thing here. It does get cold. It's going to be hard to drive during the winter. School routinely or work routinely get canceled because of the snow or blizzards. So it's just something to keep in mind, but it's all relative to what your tolerance is to the cold weather. Why does Fargo have basements in their houses, and what is a sump pump? A lot of houses you'll see here in Fargo have basements when a lot of places down south don't have basements, like in Arizona or New Mexico or that sort of area. So the reason so many houses have basements here is because of the frost line. So the frost line goes way deeper here compared to those warmer areas. And to make sure the soil and the foundation of the house is stable, they want to have that foundation go below that frost line. So that being a big one, but then also with that, you can justify the cost for putting in a basement here in Fargo compared to what it would cost to stabilize it in some other areas of the southern part of the country. And the basements can be used here as a living space. There's full basements. Everybody can stand up in basements here, and you can, storage, family room, living room, all that sort of thing are done downstairs. So it's both popular, practical, and affordable to have basements here in Fargo, which is why so many places do have them. Of course, there's always basement problems too. There's gonna be basement problems no matter where you're at in the country, just with basements and then all that pressure coming on the house. But what a sump pump is it's basically a pump of water that when water drains down the basement of the house, it'll go into this pit. Then that sump pump will pump that water out of the house so water does not get in the basement. That's what that is, and that's huge to look for if you're looking for houses with basements here in Fargo, North Dakota. To make sure they have a sump pump in the first place and make sure it works, drain tile's good, where does that hose go, that sort of thing. So that's things to look at if you're looking at homes here in Fargo, but that's what a sump pump is, and that's why Fargo has basements. What are special assessment taxes in the Fargo-Moorhead area? This is a big one. Special assessment taxes are a separate tax from a normal property tax for improvements on that area. So obviously newer areas will have a lot of improvements like parks, roads, curbs, that sort of thing. So those need to be paid for. So what the city will do is they'll pay for all those projects up front, but then they'll give bonds back and kind of a loan back essentially to the people living in that area to pay back for those projects. So it's kind of like a separate loan you'll have on top of your normal property taxes and on top of your mortgage. Generally, the newer the area, the higher the specials will be. How competitive is the housing market in Fargo, North Dakota, and do houses sell quick? This is another thing that's super relative to the type of house, the price point, where it's at, and the condition. But obviously right now being the winter, it's a little bit slower for the real estate market. Stuff sitting on the market for a little bit longer, not as much competition if you're buying. But if you want a full breakdown on what the market is actually doing right now here in Fargo, North Dakota, go over it and head to my channel and check out my market videos. I make one every single month on the market here so you know what's happening. Are buyers moving? Are buyers buying? Or are they being still? Are houses selling? How much are they selling for? That sort of thing. So you can check that out on my channel. Are power outages, storms, flooding, and other natural disasters something I need to worry about in Fargo, North Dakota? This is kind of a mixed answer because we do have natural disasters here. Obviously, I talked about before, blizzards is a huge one. That's kind of, I would say, the main natural disaster that people have to worry about living in Fargo-Moorhead and in the Midwest. We do have tornadoes too. Seemed like there's a lot of tornadoes this year when there routinely hasn't been that many in probably the past 10 years. So tornadoes occasionally, that's another reason we have basements too, is for shelter for tornadoes. We don't really have hurricanes, of course, obviously not being anywhere close to the ocean, tsunamis, that sort of thing. But there also is flooding that does happen here with the Red River is splitting Fargo-Moorhead right down the middle. It runs right through the middle of Fargo-Moorhead. But with the diversion project, if that does ever get done, that'll take away a lot of that flooding and that flood insurance people need to have on their homes. So the short answer, yes, we have natural disasters, but no, they're not as severe as other parts of the country, and they're not that bad. It's just the blizzards if you can handle the cold. Is it expensive to heat your house during the winter? This is another thing that's super relative. So obviously places like down in Florida where they need all this AC, it may be more expensive comparing to North Dakota to cool your house or heat your house or vice versa. But generally what I see with, like, your typical 3-bed, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot basic house, it's gonna be around $100 to $200 a month with your heat costs. Now it also depends on whether you have a furnace, whether it's electric furnace, gas furnace, whether it's baseboard heat, whether it's boiler heat. All these things matter and take into account in this, but generally it's $100 to $200 to $300 a month for those places. Again, it also depends on how old your house is. Older houses take a little bit more to heat because they're not as well insulated. Newer houses, very well insulated, doesn't take as much. So it's not that bad essentially, depending on where you compare it to. Obviously the heat cost is gonna be substantially more here than it is in Florida, because Florida, you don't really need to heat your house. But the cooling cost here is gonna be significantly cheaper than it would be in Florida because it's not the same climate. So it's all relative, but it's generally, you can $100 to $300 a month for a basic single family house. And of course that varies a lot depending on a lot of different things. Is Fargo, North Dakota safe? This is a big question and a really important question that I get asked a lot when people are moving to this Fargo-Moorhead area. Is Fargo safe? Now the huge thing with this one, it's the same as the other questions I said earlier. It's relative. If someone's moving from, downtown New York City to Fargo, Fargo's going to be seeming like the safest place on the planet. But if someone's moving from small town North Dakota, town of 200 people, to Fargo, it's going to seem like the most dangerous place on the planet. So it's all relative to where you're moving from and what you're comfortable with. But of course, there's certain pockets of the city that are not as safe, and there's more crime happening in those areas than other parts of the city. You can find out information on all this through websites like, searching crime, the police reports, police call websites, that sort of thing. So if you want to do more research on specific areas of Fargo or where you're at to compare it to different areas, you can go through those websites and do that. But I'm not going to say that Fargo's safe or not safe, because it also is relative to what I know. What's safe for me may not be safe for you, and what's safe to someone else might not be safe to me. And where someone's moving would make them also on that scale of safe to not safe. So that's not a clear answer for you on if Fargo is safe, but of course we have our bad areas, and you can also do your own research on how you can accept your tolerance for the safety factor. How strong is the rental or real estate investment market in Fargo, North Dakota, and is it worth investing here? Now I obviously may be a little bit biased on this question since I am a real estate agent, but I think investing in Fargo, North Dakota is great for a couple of reasons. One is the huge rental scene here. We have NDSU with North Dakota State. We have MSUM, Concordia, and a couple other small colleges here. So there's a very, very high student population of people that will come in and they're going to rent while they're going to school. Also with that, a lot of traveling nurses coming here, traveling construction crews, that sort of thing. So that makes the Airbnb game super huge here in Fargo. Airbnb is very popular, even though that may not be something that people think of when they think of Fargo, North Dakota. But the Airbnb game is huge. The rental game is also huge due to all those colleges being here, the high turnover you can have with those areas. But again, also with the growth Fargo has had, we need more and more housing because the inventory is so low. So that brings a lot of opportunity for investing too, but it can also bring up some competition depending on what area of real estate you're looking to invest in. But again, I would say real estate investing in Fargo is a great opportunity for people looking to, store their money somewhere, get some rent every month, that sort of thing. But if you want some more information or you have some questions on what investing is like for you or what strategy may be best for you, through all my contact information in the description below, we can kind of set up a plan. But yes, Fargo is a great place to have rentals due to the colleges, traveling nurses, traveling construction crews, that sort of thing. Is Fargo walkable, and do I need a car? You're gonna need a car if you're in Fargo, North Dakota. Fargo, it's very spread out. It was built more horizontally than it was vertically like some other cities. So you're gonna need a car depending on, obviously, if you live in downtown and you work in downtown, you probably don't need a car. But if you work literally anywhere else and you live literally anywhere else, you're probably gonna need a car if you live here. Now we do have bus systems that go around, but those can sometimes be, a little bit unreliable. There's not a ton of people that take the bus, so having a car would probably be the best bet, or carpooling with someone. So that's generally what I would see, and that's just my opinion, is that you will need a car if you live here in Fargo, North Dakota. What are the summers like in Fargo? Are they a humid heat or a dry heat? This is a great question that people have about the summers. Everybody always talks about the winters, but no one really talks about the summers. In my opinion, it's a happy medium between humid heat and dry heat. We don't have the dry heat of like New Mexico, Arizona, that kind of area, and we don't have the humid heat of like Florida. We have kind of right in the middle. The humidity here, ranges between 60 and 80% here in the summers. Routinely gets, 70, 80 degrees, can get up to 100 sometimes, but it kind of sits right in that range that I think is the happy medium between that like 70 to 75 degrees, usually around 70% humidity. So that's kind of where the summers are here in Fargo, North Dakota, comparing it to other places across the world, but that's kind of where we sit based on the humidity and dry heat. I know this video is a little bit different than what I normally do on my channel. Usually I don't do a Q&A kind of setting like this, but if you have any thoughts on this video, any follow-up questions or any further questions you have about moving or living in this Fargo-Moorhead area, you can drop those down in the comments below, or of course you can reach out to me through all my contact information in the description below. Thanks for watching.